This is something very interesting, and this is a movie I was asked to look at by my good friend Artisan MC. Shout out to the Mix Master, our keeper of legends, so to speak. They are experts in all things anime and comic book lore. So he asked me to look at this movie that supposedly is a science fiction movie because it's supposed to be set into the future. And it's called The Platform. It's actually created in Spain. It's in Spanish and translated. And I think the original movie title in Spanish was The Hole. And this is supposed to be a modern day prison with a slight twist, because you can either go into this facility to either get what you want, so your utmost desires, or to serve out a punishment. Interesting thing. So the platform is actually, like I said, it's set like a modern, like supposed to be a futuristic prison. And at the very tip top of this, I think of this prison that goes way, way down into the earth, the very tip top is a kitchen where all these cooks that looks like they're serving for like millionaires. It's like a millionaire's banquet, and where the head chef goes around checking on each item of each piece of food and inspecting it like, they're supposed to be serving a king. And beneath it is basically a prison, and which has cells, like a cubicle cell, I say roughly like 10 foot by 10 foot. And there's two people to each cell. And down the middle is a hole, which the platform of food comes down the middle and descends to each level. And I think they do believe there's like 333 levels to this facility. And the food that this banquet that's being served every day on top descends down to each level and stays there for 2 minutes. And the two people on that level can eat whatever they want, as much as they want. And then for 2 minutes, it goes down to the next level, and so on and so forth, till it reaches the bottom. And then at night, the platform will arise and to the top again, and it starts all over. So we first get a glimpse of our hero, Goring, and his cellmate, and also his guide, Trimagasi, an old man of about maybe 60, because Goring's about in his mid 30s, and Tribagasi is in his mid 60s. And he's explaining the rules of the facility, or the hole, or the platform. And the rules are that the food starts above and descends, and what you eat is what the people above leave. And you can only eat as much as you can in those 2 minutes. Eat your share of what you want in those 2 minutes until it descends down to the next one. And if you try to hoard food or try to keep food on your level, you'll be punished, whether by extreme heat or extreme cold. So that keeps people from hoarding food or keeping food. And Tremagasi says that people in each level really don't speak to each other, because the people above don't want to hear you, and you have nothing to say to the people that are below. And since they start off on level 38, which is not at the bottom, but it's still not at the top. You can see the platform descend, and you can see the leftovers, the disgusting leftovers from the other 37 levels that are above them. And at the beginning, Goring can't eat. And Tribigasi is feasting off of what's left over because he's been there so long. So immediately, within the first 20 minutes of Tribigasi explaining this to Goring, because Goring just got there, and Tribigasi's been there for, I think he said he was supposed to be there 18 months, and he's been there a year. So within the first 20 minutes of Tribigasi explaining this to Goring, I immediately got the impressions, or the idea of where the concept of this film came from, the script came from. First thing I thought was Dante's Inferno. Instead of having, I think it was 9 levels of hell, you have 33 levels, and how human behavior is actually enacted on in this particular hole. And as you descend down lower and lower and lower, the closer human beings get to be animals, because now it becomes bare survival, where the people at the top can afford to be more sophisticated and generous and civil because they have plenty, and they can literally look down on the people below. So it's a metaphor for modern day capitalism. In fact, this actually comes up because Tribigassi asked Goring, when it says, how come people just don't ration out the shares so people can equally survive in the platform? And Tribigassi asked him, what are you, a communist? Because the people above are supposed to gorge out and take the excess, and then each descending level is supposed to do the same thing until the people at the bottom have nothing. And since there's 133 levels, as you descend down this food chain, literally it's a food chain, because you think about it, it's a brilliant allegory. You have plenty of water, you have shelter, you have heat, but you don't have any food. And since you change levels every 30 days, the human body can withstand hunger for about 30 days. So as this food chain trickles down, as you get lower and lower in the food chain, the smaller and smaller bits and pieces actually trickle down to the lower levels. And I do believe, say, Tribigassi said after about a level 150, nothing comes down, or so little comes down that survival becomes very difficult. And basically, it's the same thing with modern day capitalism and the trickle down theory, which is, like I said, the metaphor is brilliant. People on top, if they were concerned about humanity and the people at the bottom, they would ration, just take their portion to survive, or to their portion to thrive. And then it would get passed on down to the next level. And if everybody did it, everybody would survive. Everybody would make it through the whole ordeal together, or rather intact as a whole and as a unit. Everybody's survival will be ensured. But since human nature doesn't, capitalism and this kind of what's so-called free market, where you can actually take as much as you want according to your opportunity, human greed takes over. And human greed causes, at the top, actually causes suffering at the bottom. We can see that in our own society, where human greed at the top causes half the population, because, like Tribigassi says, 333 levels, and after level 150, there's very little that comes down. So the top levels, the top 10%, top 30 some odd levels, there's plenty to eat. But when you get down to the lower levels, like past 150, there's nothing left, and you are on an animal level. And Goring asked Tribigassi, has he ever been down below to the lower levels? He says, yes, he has. And he said some people, knowing that they will have to go down to the lower levels, either once or twice, decide to commit suicide by jumping down the hole. And lots of people that are faced with imminent death or slow death by starvation decide to kill themselves. Or, as Tribigassi says, as he did to survive, he was willing to eat the dead bodies of people that committed suicide. So, as Tribigassi said, he has been down below twice, and to survive, he did what he had to do, which was eat human flesh, literally eat his cellmates that were in the cell with him. So the movie is less like a science fiction movie and more like a fable, much like A Christmas Carol, where Scrooge is actually visited by 3 ghosts, 3 spirits, 4 spirits, really, if you include his partner Marley, which is Marley is his guide. Same thing with Goring, where he has 4 cellmates, 2 men, 2 women. And these people serve as his guide. And even Tribigassi, after his death, which takes some explaining, after his death, became Goring's guide. And to explain Tribigassi's death, after a month, they put you to sleep in they transfer you to a different location, to a different level. Like Tribagasi and Goring started on level 38, which is basically middle class or even upper middle class, according to the hierarchy of the platform, down to below survival level, which is level 172, and where Goring wakes up all tied up and bound and gagged by Tribagasi, because Tribagasi knows by day 8 he's going to be starving and he's going to need to eat, and he plans on eating his cellmate to survive. And he tells him it's nothing personal. I got 1 month to go and I want to get out of here alive, and I know I won't make it, but you're young and healthy, and I've decided it's better you than me. So after day 8, he actually starts slicing off pieces of Goring's leg and eating his flesh right in front of him, and even wanting to feed Goring his own flesh. Okay. You got to remember, if you're going to watch this movie, you got to have a strong stomach, even for the very beginning. And Goring is only rescued by a female that you're really going to have to watch the movie to actually figure out who she is. She's a chick that actually rides the platform looking for a daughter. And she rescues Goring from Tribagasi, frees Goring, and teaches Goring how to feed off of his cellmate's body so he can survive, which he reluctantly does. And through the movie, you're going to realize that he had to do this twice to survive. And I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, so I'm going to basically tell you that my impressions of the platform is actually, if you can get through it and you have a strong stomach, because it really shows you the disgusting side of human nature, which is supposed to, and how unbridled capitalism or a unbridled free market that prioritizes individualism over cooperation, and how does that play out in a closed system, which we call planet Earth or a society, and how really human beings respond under stress or under certain environments, and how selfish they can be. Now, each level is a class, and each person looks out for the other person on their level or their class, and they look up to or look down on the person above or below them. And very few people think about sharing or distributing or even helping the people below. So it's not necessarily like a science fiction movie or a thriller. As some people would say it's a morality play. Sometimes it's almost like even a black comedy. It kind of reminds me of like a Dr. Strangelove, where you set human beings in a particular environment where their naked aggression, their naked instincts actually play out in a drama. So if you want to go to Netflix and look up the platform, it's gotten rave reviews where every place it's been, because you can actually see yourselves in a society and how society works and how class works and how people choose not to cooperate because they want to look up to or look down on the next person or the next group. Instead of having a equitable functioning society, this is how human beings choose to do if left to their own devices. Or so that seems to this author, which is fascinating that this comes out of Spain, because Spain has constantly struggled with this kind of class system between socialism and unbridled capitalism. I remember the conquistadors wouldn't kill for what? For wealth and fame. It started in Spain, well before it got to to France and the UK. Anyway, Artist and MC, this is my take on the platform. You can do a response or tell me what you think. The movie's actually way too complex as far as a morality play to actually get into all the themes. And to give you the so-called religious theme at the end, which is something that Dante's Inferno would do, I would have to give you the spoiler. And this is not a spoiler video. This is just my thoughts. So anyway, Mixmaster, this is for you. Tell me what you think. This is BGS out. I'll see you guys on